And we are. Hi, Lola.
Hello,
How are you today?
I'm amazing, thank you. How are you, Azan?
I'm doing great and I'm super excited for today's session. Thank you so much for being gracious and then accepting to come and join us today. And I am happy to kind of like continue this series of like marsh, women, and career and all of that. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone who's joining us today. I hope you're all doing great. Ramadan Kareem for whoever is fasting. And I hope you will enjoy today's session. I'm sure that you're going to enjoy today's session because she is an amazing person and she has an amazing energy. And I'm going to let her introduce herself and but before that, I want to talk about what we're going to be talking about today. So today's session, we purposefully named it Flip the Script and Accelerate because we wanted to get into the conversation where people usually avoid and the conversation that we usually don't talk a lot about it, especially us as a woman. So, Lola, welcome to my Career Conversations. So
Thank you for
excited
having
to
me.
have you. And go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to introduce myself. Thank you for that, Razan. So my name is Lola
So
Bijide,
my name.
and I'm an equitable development specialist. So I help individuals, particularly mid-professional and first-level leaders, to really take ownership of their career, but more importantly, to strategically accelerate. I work with FTSE 250 companies to really help their talent thrive, not just survive in their job, but to thrive in their career. I also do career coaching. And prior to that, I did work in investment banking for 20 years as a business manager and as a global head of technology training as well. So that is me. I'm also a wife, a mother, a friend, a sister, just a good, wholesome human being.
Love that. And I love I want to start with you having a full-fledged of corporate career, reaching to a very senior level, leading global teams in a very men-dominated space
Mhm.
and then deciding to move to doing your own thing and sharing your experience and knowledge and wisdom with the world. How did that happen?
So I started off with Merrill Lynch, and that was amazing, and I loved working there. And I went through all different phases. So from Merrill Lynch after 9/11, that was quite traumatic. And I wanted to just get away and being, like you said, in a male dominated environment. I just said to myself, right, what I want to do is I want to thrive and I don't want to undermine myself. So I went from Merrill Lynch and I then wanted to be in a space whereby I was not a minority. So, as we know, being female, you're usually a minority anyway. But when you are a black female, you're also a double minority. And I wanted to get into a space where possibly I wasn't going to be a double minority. So I opted to move to Nigeria and work in one of their largest banks out there, Zenith Bank, which was amazing. And I loved that because it taught me a lot about cross cultural competency. I came back and worked in a variety of different financial institutions, um, which was, I was challenged. I saw barriers and I overcame barriers and I built connections. But what I've always done is support other people to rise as well, particularly those from underrepresented groups. So, as I alluded to, being Black and female, and from a low social economic background at the time, I always wanted to ensure everyone had the same opportunities to thrive in their career. So I was always mentoring, always giving support, always making sure that no one's light was dimmed. Because once you dim your light, it's so much harder to achieve that glow up once the light's been turned down consistently. So I did that all throughout my career and I've really enjoyed it. And I've seen the success of doing that.
Love
So then
that.
what
But what
and
was,
so then in
yes, go ahead.
2017, I was blessed with redundancy from my role at Barclays Group. And it was almost like, and the reason why I say I was blessed with redundancy was because I was ready to leave. I wanted to then establish my own career coaching, soft skills training company. And when I had that conversation and they said, you know, you're being made redundant and we're going to work on your compensation package and redundancy package, I was literally doing the Mexican wave inside. I was like, thank you, God, because I was ready to leave anyway. So I opted to set up Solomon Consultancy at that particular point in time. And that was me really finding out who I was, what my value was, and what I have to offer, and how I can share that to a wider audience. So that is why I set up Solomon Consultancy at the time.
I love that. And I love how redundancy is something I went through redundancy myself a couple of years back
Mm-hmm.
when I was working for General Motors, and at the moment, like it it doesn't, you were kind of mentally prepared for it, or
Yes.
mentally prepared for moving out of that. I wasn't, but it actually turned out to be the best thing that happens to me in my career. Like, and I always talk about it. I always talk about how GM making me redundant was actually the best thing that happens to me. I wouldn't be where I am today without that. So I want to kind of shout out to people, because now with everything going around the world, a lot of people are losing their jobs. A lot of people are going through very stressful time. A lot of people are being made redundant. So I just, if someone who's listening to us today or later on is going through that, we're telling you there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's going to be a really, really great experience. So corporate, done all of that, set up your own business. How was the beginnings, like setting up your own consultancy? Um, moving from, I think moving from corporate with everything is done and you just only do your job, to the being the person who does everything. How was that?
Exactly. I mean, some of it was, some parts were easier than others because I was a global business manager. I did head up a global team. I did head up a global technology training team. So some of it was easier. The hardest part, like you rightly alluded to, Azan, was going from the organization whereby you get a contract, you give it to legal. You get an invoice that needs to be paid, you give it to finance. You need to ensure that all the, that all the regulations and policies in place, you go to compliance. You have the departments which you always know how to go to. Now, when you set up by yourself, and I always say I've got very good business acumen, so I wasn't phased by that. I had my business case, I had my strategy, I knew what I wanted to do. But then I'm like, oh, I'm doing everything else as well. I am, when you first start out, you're your financial, you're your financial manager. You are the salesperson. You are the marketing person. You are the admin person. You're literally doing everything. And then that was where the long hours came in. Like with any new business, you have to put the hours in at the start. But one of the things that I quickly implemented, which is what I did when I was in the corporate space, was systems. What systems do I need? I'm very systems orientated. what systems do I need to be more effective as a business owner, but then also what systems do my clients need to get the best user experience. So I went out and I found a system specialist, and she supported me in setting up all the systems that I needed. I like things to flow. I don't like, start, stop. I want a seamless process. End to end should be seamless for myself as a business owner, but also more importantly for my clients. I want them to have that seamless user experience of being a client with Solomon Consultancy. So that was one of the biggest, I guess, one of the, not so much of an eye opener, but it was one of the most laborious experiences because I had to put so much time and effort into it at the beginning. Now things are running far more smoothly. But when people say, I want to be I want to have my own business, they need to be prepared that it's not an overnight success. It will take a good few years for you to find your flow. And also another thing is business evolution. You start off with one idea, and then it may be actually this is not working, or this is not where I need it to be. So your business evolves. Don't think where you started is where you're going to be in the next 2, 3, 5 years. There should be evolution because the world changes all the time. So if your solutions don't change, more than likely your business won't grow and it will soon be redundant. And then you'll be a Kodak business.
Love that. And I think this is really important because I think a lot of people miss that. People always, when they shift from corporate or from being an employee to being a business owners, they always focus on the sales, on the money, on the product, but they kind of miss the focus on the systems, the processes, and all of that. I remember I was talking to a woman who exited her business and sold it for, I think, 2 million. And she said she wanted to exit 2 years before when she exited, but she actually had to stay for 2 years to go back and build all the businesses in order for the evaluation of her business to go up, which
Yeah.
was kind of mind-boggling kind of thing, because she had a very, very good like revenue in place, but she didn't have systems in place.
Systems are so
I want to
important
go
and they're
back.
usually undermined. But if you haven't got the right systems, what you will find is that you're working more in the business than on the business. And from a revenue perspective, that will still cost you money.
Definitely, definitely. I want to go back to career because this is where we're focusing today, right? You worked for big names, HSBC, you worked for Barclays, and you got to a head of technical training, which is like kind of really like the financial institute in general is a men industry, and then technical is even more
Yeah.
male thing. So I wanted to talk about how, and I know this might be a big question, but let's just start with whatever we start. Carving your way through that in a corporate world as a woman. What was the beginning looked like? And how did you evolve through that journey? How that your journey evolved through time?
Okay. I think at the beginning, I was quite unsure of myself, unsure of the value that I brought to the table. So it was a lot of, a considerable amount of self doubt. Obviously, the famous imposter syndrome would creep in. And it was a lot of being of Nigerian descent. Those of you who are from African descent may have heard the phrase, keep your head down and work hard. And that's what I did for the first year. And then I realized, you know what? I'm not an ostrich. My head shouldn't be down. When your head down, no one sees you. And if you work hard, you're probably doing work for others that they should be doing, they will get the credit for, but you're the donkey doing the work. So I kind of reframed that whole messaging in my head. Like, okay, where do you actually want to get to? If you continuously keep your head down, no one's going to see you. No one's going to acknowledge you. And the other phrase of don't worry, your work will speak for itself. Here's the thing, your work hasn't got a mouth. So it can't speak for you. People will see you doing the work. Some people will take the credit for the work that you're doing, and yet you're still doing the work and not getting the recognition you deserve for it. So I said, no, we're not going to do that work. I will work hard, but I'm going to work smarter even more. So what I did is I carved out what I would call strategic relationships. Who do I want to talk to? Who do I need to talk to? I started making sure that I was in high value conversations, in high value rooms. So, what I mean by that is building relations or establishing the people that I need to have relationships with. So, from a very early start in my career, I understood what a mentor was. And while sponsor wasn't really branded about then, remember this was like 25 years ago, right? So, sponsor wasn't a thing really. But I understood that actually, if I'm talking to Simon, and Simon is an MD, not my direct boss, but it's within my sphere of communication. Like we do have some meetings together. Usually I didn't speak, but I would go above and beyond and prepare for those meetings. So I would always have a point or an insight to share, which I knew would bring value. So it wasn't me saying, I am the best person in my team, but I would study those meetings like I was studying for an exam. What's the objective? What is no one seeing that I can see? When do I need to say it? Because you can share it with your line manager or with your colleague, and guess what? In the meeting, they may open their mouth and share your idea before you do. So I would then like, okay, I think this is a really good idea. I would formulate it, come up with a few extra add-ons, and that's what I would then share with Simon in that meeting where everyone expects you as a junior person to be quiet. I said, no, 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 not today. Today, Lola's going to speak. So I would do that at certain points. And what that also did is that reduced the self-doubt I had in myself. So when you're making what I would call an impactful and relevant point in the meeting, and people are looking like, oh, did Lola say that? Yes, Lola did say that. You're adding value. And then that kind of reaffirms that I'm a value added asset in this team, yo. I'm going to step up. And then you start looking for more opportunities and you start believing in yourself more as well. So when that happens, it's kind of like it's killing two birds with one stone. You start to believe in yourself more. So as you believe in yourself more, you look for more opportunities to demonstrate your value. And then conversely, the people who need to see the value that you bring to the table, guess what? They're seeing you because your head is no longer down and you're no longer working hard. You've started to work smart. So as I started doing that throughout all of the places that I've worked, it really did hone in that actually what we've been told, particularly as women, is not serving us. We need to step up and step out. And like we said before, whilst we're very, I don't want to generalize, but whilst we talk, sometimes we're just exchanging noise. And that's good. We all need to vent, we all need to do certain things. But I wanted to start having impactful conversations that led to difference, that led to growth, not just for me, but for those around me as well. So strategically, from each of my career points, I would look at what do I want to get out from this particular role. And even before I started the role, I'd be like, okay, these are the areas of development that I need to work on in my leadership journey. So if it's presentations, I want to ensure I've got an opportunity to present to high tier stakeholders. I want to improve my presentation. Is it to lead a team? I want to be in a position where I can lead a team. Is it communication? I want to be able to know that I'm going into these meetings and I'm knocking it out the bag. So I looked for ways in which my areas of development will be met within the role. And throughout my career, I've always looked at, okay, what am I going to get from this particular role that aligns to my career trajectory strategy? It's not just put Lola here because she's good. It's what does Lola want to get from here? And that was my job, not theirs.
I love that. And I love like a couple of things that you said. First, a lot of things that we've been told are fundamentally wrong. I don't know where did they got them from. We're not definitely ostrich and we shouldn't put our head down. And I think a lot of resentment and anger that we get to accumulate through the year is actually a result of that advice of put your head down, work hard, and you will be noticed. It's actually because then eventually we realize that people are actually we've been skipped, we've
Yeah,
been overlooked, and we start blaming the system, we start blaming our managers, we start blaming people around us and discrimination and all of that, which I'm not disputing whether it's there or not, but we put them in charge of our own life instead of us taking charge. So I think
yeah,
don't put your head down. As Lola said, you will not be noticed if
you
your
know,
head is down for sure. Um, I love how you kind of demonstrated, or as you told the story, that you always thought of the job of how can the job serves me
yes, that is
as
very
much as I
important.
do mine.
Yeah, because
Yeah, like
sometimes,
I think a lot of us don't do that. Like I didn't do that for a long time in my career. Like I would wake up, go to work, work very hard, long hours, give it, as you always say, 110, 200. But I rarely sat with myself and said, how can this job serves me?
yeah,
Right? Like, yes, I'm doing my 8 to my 9 to 5, but how can this job serves me? So that's kind of, I think, it's an important question to pose out there. Um, who helped you, Lola? Like, this is a long journey, and it's kind of a mature way of looking at it. And I don't want to take that away from you, but who helped you, or what helped you cultivate that mindset? Because that's a great mindset. How did you get there?
I think what it was, and just to go back quickly on what we discussed about, the narrative that was fed to us about keep your head down and work hard. I'm not going to take it away from parents, aunties, uncles who fed that narrative, particularly if you're an immigrant, okay, because they came at a time when that's what they had to do just to survive. We're not talking about thriving in careers here. This was survival mode. But that's 20th century narrative. So when you move into the 21st century narrative, you have to look at what is going to serve you. And it's very much a point of, and again, similarly, the 20th century narrative of an attitude of gratitude. Now I switched from that because when I first got my job at Merrill Lynch, everyone was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it! How did you do it?" I'm like, "Hello, it's me. Why would I not do it?" And it's really looking it in the mirror and thinking, "Why would they doubt me?" Like, and I'm like, you almost feel insulted. Like, what do you mean? How did I do it? It's not luck, God's grace definitely, but also I'm actually a value added asset, people. But you have to understand what you bring to the table first. So it's that deep reflection piece of what are you offering this organization, this department that only you can give. And I call that your personal value proposition piece. And once you've got that clear in your head, then you're very much able to say, right, this is what I bring to the table. But what do I want to pick up from that table? What do I want to get from it? Because if you're always looking at, okay, I'll do my job, and then they're going to see the amazing work I do, and then it's like, oh, but you can do this as well. No, like, what do you want to do? And it's for you to take charge and for you to take ownership. So to answer your question, Roseanne, about who did I have around me, I built people who saw in me that I didn't, who saw within me that I hadn't yet seen within myself. And that honestly is, it's not undermining my own sense of confidence, but when someone saw something, when someone gives you a compliment, the first thing, if we're being honest with ourselves, that some of us may do is, oh no, it's not that, no, it wasn't that great, no, it's okay, you could have done that, oh no, it wasn't all of that, no, I'm not that, no, 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 it was fine, don't worry about it, it's not that big a deal. I
No,
was
it's
like,
just makeup.
Yeah, you just
Yeah,
disguise it.
usually people tell you you're pretty. Oh no, it's just makeup or it's
No,
just
I'm
filter.
pretty. You're
Kind.
right. I'm pretty. I know. Yeah, you're right. It's owning it, and it's not about deflecting it or giving it back to them. Yes, you can return a compliment, but I remember one time, and someone said to me, "Oh my God, you're so what did they say? They said you're so full of yourself," and I said, "Yes, I am." I said, "Yes, I am. I poured a lot into myself." So yes, I am full of myself. It's wonderful. And they looked at me like, I didn't mean it like that, but okay. But it's true. If you're not full of yourself, then why would anyone have any faith in your abilities or your skills? So I started thinking to myself, right, okay, if I can do this, why can't I do that? So a key thing for me was, and this was like a really, like when I went back to Nigeria to live and work, it was amazing because number one, I'm not a minority. Number two, everyone can say my name like whoo, just flow off their tongues. And number three, you're there to prove, you're there literally to say, okay, show up and show out. We haven't got time for passengers. So when I was at Zenith, and that time it was a cash, it's still very much a cash society, but even more so then because there was no debit cards. Um, and Nigerians, we do love to travel. There's nowhere you'd go in this world where you will not find a Nigerian. And if you're thinking on that logic, we fly a lot. There's a lot of travel agents. There's a lot of airlines, and everything is handled in cash. So I worked in the corporate development team in the head office for Zenith. And I was like, we need to devise a way in which we can create e-ticketing for all of our people who want to travel, as opposed to the travel agents coming to the bank with big bags of money. That's not safe. That's not secure. So I worked with the e-banking team to devise something. I made presentations to um, the head of the head of British Airways West Africa, the head of Virgin West Africa, Ethiopian Airways, Egypt Airways. I was going and delivering these presentations, and I was getting amazing feedback, and that really fed into my level of capability and the level of belief I had in myself. I'm like, if I introduce this, I'm changing the way business is being done. For a country that has a population of X amount of million, that's a big win. So it was about recognizing my wins and also owning my wins as well. And if you don't own your wins, someone is going to take them from you. So it's very important that you understand you build up your success bank and you yourself own it, because then you're only giving permission for withdrawals from yourself, not from others who will see what you've done, take credit, and then they will withdraw your credit from your success bank. So that was one of my, I think, self-reflective moments where I understood that actually, girl, you were adding value upon value upon value, and that sewed into my sense of self-belief and is what I'm actually capable of.
Oh my goodness, there's so much tweetable moment here. You know how Oprah says tweet, tweet, tweet? So that's what I'm thinking. It's like tweet, tweet, tweet. Um, I love how you said that you need people around you to remind you of how good you are. And I think that's not, I agree with you 100%. It doesn't mean you don't believe on yourself, but we're human beings, we're being
Yeah.
conditioned. There's a lot goes, we might doubt ourselves. We will have a moment of despair. We will have moments of doubts. And when you have people that they can look at you at that moment and say, you're not defined by this moment, you're not defined by this situation. I
Mm,
know you. You are fearless girl. You're strong. You can do it. You got it in you. I think that's kind of reignite the thing. So I think it's very important to have your village, and
yeah.
your village doesn't need to be crowded, but it's need to have the right people.
You need to
I
have the
think I
right
love
people.
that. I love I love what you said about solving a problem, finding a problem at the workplace and solving that problem, because that's going, companies love problem solvers. But what I loved more than that is being courageous enough to step up and show that you are the one who is solving this problem. Like,
Yeah.
and this is something from my own experience, because I was always a problem solver, and that's why I always got promoted. I always got the highest rating. But I was so coward that I never wanted to show on the stage. So I was very happy to come up with the project and do the work and then give the presentation for someone to present it. And I convinced myself that at this stage, I'm happy to give it to someone else, which was stupid.
It's,
And
it's a
I am
mistake
like,
that we all
sometimes,
make, though, Razan. It's a mistake that is easy to make because sometimes we think we're not ready, but then you'll never be ready. Okay, so it's like,
yeah,
it's a case of I may not deliver like, I don't know, like Tony Robbins, but I'm going to give it my best shot. I will learn from it and I will grow. But never give away that power. Never give away that power. That's yours to own.
yeah,
That's
I
why
I
we.
100% agree. When I had a when Madeleine pushed me to go and have my first stage, the first time I was on a stage, it was total disaster. Like total disaster. Like when I got off the stage, like people kind of like, okay, like I didn't die. So I was
Exactly.
kind of brave enough to
Exactly.
go back again.
Exactly. That's it. As long as you learn from what didn't go well, it just means that you're going to get better next time. I'm sure you've heard the acronym about fail. It's your first attempt in learning. So it's not about, oh, I failed, I'm dead, I can never do it again. No, you've learned from it. And I always say, as long as you learn from something, it's not a mistake. It's a learning point. So you take the learning and you
Definitely.
grow from it.
I love these sweet moments now. So I'm gonna ask you, Lola, like you've been in the corporate world, you work with a lot of women, you're coaching a lot of women now. What do you think our biggest holdback? Like what is holding us back the most?
I think what is holding us back the most, and it's two things, particularly for high performing women. And I guess this is where you've got the old, imposter syndrome creeping in. But also, it's a case of high performing women, they are working in environments that were not necessarily designed for them. Okay, so what you have is not so much a lack of capability, it's a lack of representation and a lack of recognition. And that feeds into you. So once you're more cognizant of the fact that actually I'm working in an environment whereby I am a minority, but that shouldn't stop me. So maybe you need to ensure that you shine a light brighter on yourself. I always say the only person who's responsible for putting on that, when you go on stage and the spotlight's on you, you're the person for flipping that switch. Yeah? You're that person for saying, right, flip the switch, the light's on me now. Camera, action, let's go. Because sometimes no one's going to do that for you. So it's a sense of realizing, particularly when you're a high performing woman in the workplace, you're operating in an environment that was never designed for you to be in. And yes, it's International Women's Month, but let's be factual. The workplace is still not designed for women to be at the top levels. Okay, that's why there's so few of us there. So remembering that will give you the sense of, I'm already outperforming myself because I'm a high performing individual in an area that wasn't designed for me. It's literally saying that, I don't know, that you're a high performing, like you're a high performing fish on dry land. It wasn't designed for you to thrive, but you are operating and you are thriving. So I would say always take that into consideration. I would also say that one of the things that is really holding us back, and it may be controversial, is we don't invest in ourselves enough. So to the question that you asked me earlier about who did I have around me, I had a very nourishing support system around me. Now, we can have our girls who we go out with and have fun with, but in terms of thriving in your career trajectory on your own terms and conditions, who do you have in your corner or in your corners? Because, like you rightly said, it's a village, it's not one person. And from the time we start investing in ourselves, be that mentors, sponsors, coaches, you know, stakeholders who can really help and motivate you, that will make the difference. But when you're sitting there and you're thinking, I'm going to work hard and they will see my work, no, we need to start investing in ourselves. We are our biggest asset. And if you want to see your asset grow and thrive on your own terms and conditions, you need to invest in it. Buying the bag, getting the hair, doing your nails every week, beautiful. And they can make you feel good and great about yourself. But for me, that quickly decimates when you're not getting the recognition at work, when you are being overlooked for promotions. Yeah? When your success bank is being withdrawn from other people because you're not owning your credit or you're not sharing your success bank story. So for me, it's why are we not investing in ourselves? And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying go and do another 10 courses to prove your worth. You've already proved your worth, my dear. You've proved it. What you now need to do is go about finding a way to convert that worth into the role that you want, into the career that you want for yourself. Sometimes we try and overcompensate. Oh, I'm going to go and do this another course. Okay. And yet you've done 10 courses and you're still in the same role. What's that telling you? What's that telling you? Okay, so you need to invest in you now. And I think it's something that it takes us a lot of time to get our heads around because we don't do it enough. And it's very important we start reframing what investment in us actually looks like. Because when you reframe it, then you start taking the action. You start taking the action, you start seeing the results. And that changes the trajectory altogether.
This is gonna get very like kind of red zone because you just kind of like flagged so much stuff in my head. Um, I was never a fan or I was never a believer in the DEI stuff in the workplace. Like
Mm.
it didn't work for me. I didn't felt the authenticity. And I'm not talking
Yeah.
about what company, wherever I worked, I just saw corporate propaganda. And I think now these programs being rolled back from all of the big companies is just a proof of it was just propaganda. It
Yeah.
wasn't as
It was a marketing
true and
strategy for a
rooted
lot of
as it.
companies.
So I think having that mindset of you are on your own and you need to push through and thrive is very important thing. But I wanted to talk about the men club versus the women club. You asked a very good question. You said, who do you have in your corner, right? Your mentor, your coach, but out of the people around you, who do you have in your corner? Who are the sponsors? Who the people that they going to? And while men have their club, we have a cat club. That's a lot of women. I'm sure it's sad, but it's true, right? We have, first of all, we have a very big gap between women in leadership and women in senior or lower gap. That's
Mm.
number one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, we don't have, women don't have, they have an entourage. They don't have a clique, right?
Yeah.
And we tend to tear each other apart, which I don't
Understand.
understand.
Yes.
So, and sadly, it just doesn't end. So I want your take on that. Like, how can, first, I want your take on that, why this is still happening in 2024. But I also want, what is the solution? How can we have women club? How can we become the club for another woman to rise and then lift everyone else with her?
Okay, excellent. So what I would say about the men's club and the women's club. Remember I said that these places So leadership positions, C-suites, they were designed for men. So men have had a much longer time to formulate these clubs. So before they formulated these men's clubs in the corporate space, back in the 1800s, you had the smoking clubs, right? So this has been something that has always been in place. They just moved it. They've moved it from beautiful Georgian townhouses that we see in Bridgerton to the corporate boards. That's all they've done. They've moved it to the corporate boardroom. So they've always been in place. They've always been in situ. But women have started this journey probably from, let's say, the 60s, right? If we're being honest. We haven't had that long hundreds of years trajectory of building these exclusive clubs. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't be doing it. That doesn't mean that we don't know how to do it. We need to feed into our feminine energy a bit more. What I found when I was in the corporate space is women who felt they needed to thrive had to become these alpha aggressors. And it's like, that's not you. You're taking on a role that is not naturally you. And also, there was a mentality whereby there's not room for both of us. I can only be the one female C-suite in this organization. There's not enough for two of us. And I'll never forget a time. This was when I was at Barclays. We went to the town hall, and the CEO of the time at the time, Sir Anthony Jenkins, he did the town hall, and he said that he was saying to his daughter that, we're looking to increase female representation on our board by 50%. And she was like, Dad, how many females do you have on the board? He was like, we have one. And how many places do you have? And I can't remember how many there was, but it was double digits. And she's like, right, so you're looking to get another one. do you see that as real growth? So it's using percentages to mask the reality. But what I'm saying is that females within ourselves, we can play to our feminine energy, which is to support others. That doesn't mean you're taking away the spotlight from yourself. It means you are understanding that you are enough. There's enough space at the table for another woman to be present. And the more you help others elevate and rise, you're changing the game. Not just for you, but for those who are coming behind you. So I've been in places before whereby, like I say, female MDs feel they have to be this alpha aggressive person to achieve what they need to achieve, but you don't. You really and truly don't. Understand your values, understand your strengths and your skills, and work on that in your leadership journey. For the women's clubs, and this is where you have to be selective about which women's clubs you join. As we know, it's not about volume, it's about quality. And it's also a mutual benefit. So what are you pouring in and what are you getting out? It's not just you're going to replenish other women and drain them from all their energy, but what are you giving back to them as well? It's an exchange, and it should be a fluid exchange, not a strained exchange. I shouldn't have to beg you to feed back into me after I poured into you, because guess what? When that happens, next time you come to me, I'm like, girlfriend, you depleted me. I'm still replenishing myself from the last time I helped you. So it has to be a mutual exchange. But guess what? They are out there. They really are out there. And it goes back to what I said before about investing in yourself. We don't do it enough. All these men's club, they are an investment. They will take the time. Okay. If it's going to have 2 rounds of golf, I'm leaving the office. We're going. I'm gone. Whatever it is, they will make the time. We are more concerned about, if I leave early, how's that going to look? Oh no, I have to send out that last email. Girl, it's 10 o'clock at night. Forget that email. No one's going to die. You're send it to Putin or Trump. There's not going to be any World War III is not going to break out. Invest in yourself, because when you start investing in yourself, it becomes the norm. And one thing I realized about investing in myself was I actually wanted to invest in others as well. Like I actually enjoyed pouring out and sharing. I'm a knowledge sharer. I don't hoard knowledge, I share it. I don't want to leave this earth with my knowledge bank full to the brim because I haven't shared it. I want to let it go. let it go. The more I let go, the more I'm able to receive back as well. So I think for me, when I'm looking at, the women's clubs, there are women's clubs out there, and I've been fortunate to be part of a few. But also as an individual, what are you doing to support another female? Sometimes we're so ready looking at who can help me, who can help me. Who are you helping? And who are you pouring into? Because that's how you form relationships. And if you're not pouring into someone, and you may think, oh, I haven't got anyone to pour into, I don't know anything, you'll be surprised. Talk to someone who's 2 grades below where you are and share with them your journey. They're like, oh my God, I've learned so much. Thank you so much. That's been really helpful. And what that does, you think, oh, it boosts your own self-awareness of the knowledge you possess. And it also increases your self-confidence. So it's always a win-win situation.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that our club doesn't need to be like the men club. It has to be built based on what works for us, our feminine energy, our natural tendency to nurture and help and support. But it's also an equation of give and take. And
Yeah.
it's not necessarily a tit for tat, but it's more of like you have to be willing to give, even if that just the space for
Yes.
someone else, in order for you also to be able to get your moment and get something back out of that. Um, so here is a situation. I am a mid-career manager, been the ostrich for quite some time. I'm tired of burying my head, and I'm ready to step up and um, kind of put myself out there. What would be your advice? What are the 3 things that I need to start with?
Okay. The first one I would say is you need to work on your strategic visibility. So, where are you showing up? Okay. Where are you showing up? Who are you talking to? And what are you sharing? Because don't forget, you've had your head in the sand for quite some time now. So everyone's just used to you getting on and doing the work. The first thing I would do as well is actually write down your success bank. So what have what are part of your successes? What's your success story? List them all down. That will help to reinvigorate your sense of actually I'm a bold ass. I can actually get things done. And then look at where you need to be seen and who you need to be talking to. So if you just put your head out of the sand and you just start talking to your colleague, that's great. Okay, but I'm sure you talk to your colleague anyway. You need to talk to, and you should be talking to your line manager. But maybe what your line manager doesn't know is the work that you've done. So start sharing that on a frequent basis. The work that you've done, even the work that you haven't, the success you haven't spoken about, start speaking about it. And then start elevating a level above. Because then what you now need to do is start finding your sponsor. Okay, that's what I'm talking about when I say strategic visibility. Who is seeing you? Who are you talking to? And what are you sharing with them? And that's one of the things that really helped me throughout my career. My sponsors are usually people that I don't directly work with. I'm not always my direct line manager, but there are people who have benefited from a piece of work I've done in a program or a project. So they understand the value that I delivered, not just to the immediate project, but to the wider program. And I started having conversations with them one-on-one, like direct conversations. Oh, yeah, fancy a coffee, fancy a tea, water cooler moments. Back in the day when I was always in the office, I'll be trying to, who's gone to the water cooler? Oh, I need to speak to them. I'll go and bump into them, have a quick 5-minute chat. In that 5 minutes, I've shared a lot of value that I delivered in the program. I've also may have dropped in. I may be looking for new opportunities, and this is what I want to do. So already I'm on their radar. And people think, oh my God, that doesn't work. I tell you, it so works. I was able to leave one role in the same organization and walk directly into another role because the sponsor that I had said, I will create a role for you. Don't worry about it. So it works. That is strategic visibility. It's not showing up everywhere, talking to everyone. Be strategic in your engagements. And this is not MI5 territory, like you have to turn into a spy. But it's like, okay, who do you actually need to talk to? And what impact do you want to make? What message do you want to convey to them? These are all thought processes. It's not that you go up, you see your potential sponsor goes to a water cooler and just start talking. Oh my God, have you seen? Have you seen Adolescence on Netflix? It's amazing. No, we're talking about strategic visibility. So when you go and approach them, you already have your strategy and your narrative and your conversation laid out. Nuggets. Okay, it's not an epistle you're going to share with them. They are value added nuggets to them and to you. What value you bring and possibly where you want to go next. They can put two and two together, and maybe if opportunities arise and they are being discussed in rooms that you don't have privy to, your sponsor will speak for you. So I would say in that sense, where you've had your head in the sand for a very long time and you want to put it up, get some air and get noticed, it's about strategic visibility.
I love that. But here is a follow-up question on that. Um, we as women struggle a lot with self-promotion,
Yes. Yes.
right? For whatever reason, we have a long rap sheet of excuses. Like, I will come across as arrogant. Like, this is not, I don't feel comfortable talking about it. It wasn't that great. Whatever it is, we
Yeah.
really struggle with that. Why? And how can we overcome it?
The reason why is because I think we're taught from a very young age that it's considered to be bragging. It's considered to be up yourself, or someone said to me, you're very full of yourself. Well, do you know what? See it as a good thing. Like, yes, I am full of myself because I've poured into myself. I've worked smart and I've worked hard and I want to reap the results. And I'm not going to reap the results if no one knows how bloody good I am I? So I need to share the good news. Literally, you need to share what you do. And if it's all true and it's all factual, then it's not bragging, is it? It's like you going out there and saying, oh, wow, it's 24 degrees, it's hot. You're not bragging, you're just stating the facts. It's like I delivered the project on time, under budget, and I received amazing feedback. Where's the brag? These are facts. And I think what we need to do to overcome it is intentionally and proactively seek feedback. And now that feedback may not always be good. And if it's not good, and if it's from a trusted source, not someone who just likes to rant and rave and just tear you down, if it's constructive criticism, take it and use that to improve yourself. If it's that feedback where it's, oh my God, Roseanne, you was amazing on that project, you knocked that presentation out of the park. Honestly, it's just changed my mind about the whole entire project. I'm bored, I'm sold. Like, please, let's start the next project. Let's do this. Oh, that's great. Thank you so much for the feedback. Can you just drop me that in an email, please? Because then you get a chance to reread it and literally drink into who you are. Okay, that's your tonic. Because sometimes, like you say, when someone's saying it to us, our first response is, oh, no, it wasn't that good. No, oh, no, it wasn't that good. Honestly, it was nothing. No. Thank you so much. Can you just drop me that in the email if it's not too much trouble? Also on LinkedIn, how many of us proactively seek recommendations? It's like, oh no, don't be begging for a recommendation. Go and beg for your recommendation, my friend. Go and get your recommendation. Because what that does is that when people are looking at who you are, it's not just from what you've put, it's from what other people have said about you as well. And that builds up your credibility bank. So it's really, really important. Sometimes we have to allow others to lift us up. As opposed to dismissing it, we need to allow them to lift us up, and then we need to embrace it. And the sooner we get used to that whole new flow of feedback and praise, the easier it will be for us to self-promote. because we have voices. We can talk about almost anything else. Why can't we talk positively about ourselves? It doesn't make sense. You know, it's the report that came out. I can't remember when it came out, but there's a report that said, you know, men, when they're looking for roles, if they can do 40%, 40 to 50% of what's on the job description, they're applying. Women, we need to get that nice 80 to 90% that I can do this, even where it has the nice to have, not necessity. Oh, I haven't got that, I can't apply. If I can do, when I was applying for roles, if I could do at least 50% of the essentials, yeah, tell me my CV and I'm sending that bad boy over to you. It's like, I'm not stupid. Whatever I need to learn, I will learn. And I'm a fast learner. So it's not a problem. But it's that essence of, if we don't believe in ourselves, then why are you so surprised that no one else will believe in you? And don't expect your manager to speak up for you. Don't expect the manager to just adorn you with praises 24/7. Because some of the things they may not even know because you have not told them. So self-promotion is critical. It's absolutely critical. And it's something that we need to do on such a regular basis, because we're just falling short. We're falling short. And some of it is due to our own inability to share with others the greatness that we can do.
Yeah, more tweet moments. Um, 2023 was a turning point, a turning year in my life, and it was shaped by a lot of events. But I think two highlights were two coaches that I worked with. One of them was Madeleine. You know her, and she's great. And another coach, I can't even pronounce his name. He's a Dutch, and they had completely different way of coaching, and they were coaching me in a completely different places. He was coaching me into dealing with my leadership and with my manager, and she was coaching me on everything that's internal. And the
Yeah.
thing is, when I went into these coaching rooms for the first time,
Mm.
there's a lot about myself that I did not know.
Yes.
And I think that's why having a coach, having a conversation with someone like you, like Madeleine, it just changed the trajectory of how we look at things. And sometimes that's all what you need. You as you said, you that's an investment. Being in that room is an investment.
Mm.
You don't need to go and do another course.
Mm.
You don't need to go and do another PhD or master, or you just need to have a conversation with someone who can see through your insecurities, your barriers. Like someone can see through that and tell you, no, why
Yeah,
did you try that? Like it's
exactly.
kind of like it just and I love you keep saying having your success bank or having your credit bank, because we depend a lot on validation from people, but having
External.
our own checking account is
Mm.
actually, I don't need a credit card. I have my own checking accounts that I'm being a banker, like you know.
But no, it's important. And like you said, Razan, it's when you invest in, let's say, coaches, the people that I work with, so both men and women, it's very much about getting out of your own head and getting an objective view that will help you identify the stumbling blocks that you have been continuously stumbling over. But more importantly, it's okay, where do you want to go and how can we map out that trajectory to help you get there? And it's work that's done in tandem. I always say, like for me, when I stepped into a leadership role, it's because I did a lot of personal development work previously that I was able to identify the type of leader I wanted to be, the type of leader I didn't want to be, what I wanted for myself as a leader, what I wanted to leave behind as a legacy, and also what I wanted to give to my team. So when you're able to work on yourself beforehand, that's why I like what you said in relation to, having two coaches working in completely different ways. Like people think, oh my God, you've got more than two coaches. Yes, you can have more than two coaches. It's as many as you need to help you to get to where you want to get to. Yeah. But when you're working on the internal, that will help feed into the external as well. So doing all that work within yourself, okay, how do you see yourself? Like if I work with women who struggle or who think they struggle with imposter syndrome, we go through the whole process. I'm very much about name it, but don't shame it. Okay, I'm not going to shame you from having imposter syndrome, but we will name it. How do you feel? You feel you're not good enough. You feel as though you're not valued, or you don't add enough value. Name all those things. Let's get them out of the system, and that helps unclog them from you. So they're just not all crammed up in your head. We get them out, and we can look at them objectively because they're not just swirling around in your head. Yeah. So when you unload all of that from your head, number one, you're lighter. And then two, your coach can help you get the clarity to actually move forward in a direction that aligns to your version of success on your terms and conditions as well. So it is very much about investing in yourself. I always say it's a shame that we don't do it more, and we don't start earlier as well. The earlier you start, the quicker you will reap the benefit. So start, people, start.
Agree, 100%. Yeah, start yesterday, actually. Like, I think it's and I think there's also um there's also benefit. Sometimes picking the right coach is also very important. Like, I had black women coaches, I had a white women coach, and I had a white man coach. And each one saw me differently. They
Yeah,
saw me, each one of them. But everyone saw me differently. Every one of them asked me different questions. Everyone kind of instigated different feelings. And it's also sometimes good to see the world through someone else's eyes,
of
because
course.
we are so caught up um in our own world, and kind of um and I loved what you said earlier about, I wanted to share a story. I want to go back to that point about having these conversations with people that are in the company, but they're not necessarily your direct line,
Mm,
or that might lend you your next job. I remember a couple long time ago, we had the hotel I work for hired a new director of training, and he wanted to come up with a new system all over. So he asked me and four people to come and give and just have a chat with him about what do we think we should train people at. And
yeah.
me being the numbers person I am, I literally spent couple of hours working on, like, what are the most of the complaints, what are the, like, I kind of structured it and I worked, and I would never forget my teammate laughing at me saying, hell, the guy's just gonna chat, why are you doing all of this? And I was like, I just, like, this is how I do things. And they were like, you nerdy girl. And I did it, and I went to the meeting, we had the conversation, and I felt bad presenting what I worked, because then I will make my colleagues looks bad because no one prepared the way I prepared. So I didn't. I just walked him through the things. And then here's the thing. When I walked out, one of my colleagues, she was like, why you did not present? And I was like, I didn't want to make you look bad. And she was like, are you stupid? And she literally peeked back, and she said to him, hey Patrick, prepare the full presentation for that, you should see it. And
Exactly.
he said, bring it on. I presented to him. There was another guy who's his assistant in the room. And a couple of years later, there's a position in another country. That assistant left after 3 months. And 3 years later, there's a job open in a completely different company in a completely different country. And this guy tells the director of that company, I worked with a girl back in Sudan and she was really good at this kind of stuff. You should interview her. And I did that interview and I got the job and I moved to Dubai because of that thing.
There you
So
go.
never underestimate what presenting yourself or presenting your work in a room for people can take you. I always tell this story because I owe that guy a lot.
No,
Um,
no, no, no,
but
no, no, Razan, you don't owe him a lot, okay? Because at the end, no, listen, at the end of the day, you did the work, okay? You did the work, and he knows the value you bring to the table. So him getting you on board is for the benefit of the organization that he's working for, and he would also have got a thank you for pointing out exceptional talent to bring on board to the company. So you don't owe him, darling. You did the work.
life
He saw the
coaching,
value. Yes,
we
I
have a
might
live
have
coaching live. I 100% agree with you. And Madeline did a really good job in terms of taking me away from that. But I think it's just my sense of gratitude of him remembering that and mentioning my name. And that's always kind of, I always say, I will do the same. I will always try to
yeah,
remember
you'll
people
pay it
who made an
forward.
effort. It's just
You'll
out
pay it
of
forward.
gratitude, but I
Sure.
did the job for sure.
You did
I
the job.
own that.
You did the job. You own it. That's part of your success bank, darling. So please don't
Okay.
let anyone do
I,
it.
I my goodness, I love this. I knew this session is going to be great. Um, so I want to move to the difficult conversations, right? The
Mm, mm,
conversations. You mentioned something earlier, and we were talking about it before the session that we as a women, we do a lot of talking, but
mm.
we do a lot of chatter as well. Like it's more
Yeah.
of us venting, chatting, not really impactful conversations. I want to talk about the tough conversations, the conversations that we avoid, the salary negotiation we don't do, the salary increase we don't ask for, the promotion we don't go after. Like I want, or the promotion that skips us and we never go and have that difficult conversation why I'm not the one who's been promoted. Um, Tell me about that. Let's talk about these difficult conversations.
I think the difficult conversations, the one thing that really helped me have those difficult conversations, and I would select which difficult conversation I wanted to have because not all of them I needed to have. Not all of them would give me the rewards or the outcome that I wanted. So I would select the difficult conversations that I would have, and that would be based upon how is this going to impact my trajectory in the next 1 to 2 years. Okay, so within the next 24 months, by not having this conversation, how is this going to impact me? So, and like you said, one of the conversations that I had was around salary negotiation. So I've always been contracting. When I was working in the investment banking world, apart from my last role at Barclays, I was always contracting. So always looking to get a better day rate. And I decided I'm going to take a year out. I'm going to do an MBA because that's my thing, global business management. So I did that, and then I went to go and work. And I remember saying, actually, I want to stick to contracting, but I was put forward for this permanent position, and they gave me the contract. No, I was like, no. This is what I'm looking for. 6 figures. These are the 6 figures I'm looking for. They're like, right, okay, we go back. I was like, okay, where's the? And then also looking at the whole package, not just the salary. What's the bonus? What's the private medical insurance looking like? What is my pension contributions looking like? What is my learning and development allowance? I would skim through everything. And by the time I got the number that I wanted, they thought I'd be happy. I was negotiating every single last and final point to when I started there, I started with Barclays Capital, which is the investment banking arm of Barclays. So when I started, I was like, no, you people have money, right? Okay, so this is what I need. And they were like, oh, no, we can't, no. And I negotiated to get what I wanted because I knew going back into that environment, I'm giving you a lot, so you need to pay me my dues. And sometimes people get like you just said, the attitude of gratitude. I'm working here, I've got my 6 figures and I'm done. No. Look at everything in entirety and think actually it's not an attitude of gratitude that I have because I provide the value. You people should need to be grateful for having me. So this is going to be a mutual appreciation society we're going to build, and I'm going to get my dues. So you have to look at, okay, how is this going to benefit you? Sometimes people go in and they have what it's not even, they make a conversation that doesn't need to be difficult simply because it's an easy win. You know when you start an argument and there's no argument to be had and you know you're going to win it? Oh, I won that argument. There was no argument in the first place. Like that wasn't even a difficult situation. You just made it difficult. So when you identify difficult situation is understanding why is it difficult. Also get the clarity of what you want the outcome to be and the business case that supports that outcome. There is no I think this is why it should be done this way. You need to know. In those difficult conversations, your argument needs to be tight. You need to get into LA law mode, which was an old program for way back when, show my age. But you need to get into legalese. You have to understand that why your case makes sense. Why does it stack up? Okay, you need to go in there with evidence. And then you also need to understand what are you willing to compromise on? There's always going to be a compromise. So what are you willing to compromise on? But what are your non-negotiables? Because then once you have done that, you've got the clarity you need to approach the meeting. Keep it succinct and make sure your points get across. We don't want war and peace. Yeah, because that's just then you start rambling. So I would always go, any difficult conversation I've had when I was in the corporate space, I would prepare for it like I'd prepare for an exam. I would practice, I would build my case, I would practice with camera on, record myself. How am I presenting? What's my executive presence saying? How am I coming? What questions may arise? How am I going to counteract those questions? I would prepare for it like I was going into court. Because when you go in there ready, they won't be as ready as you. They wouldn't have anticipated the conversation is going to be this difficult or you'll be that prepared. So when you go in there prepared, you increase your chances of actually being successful and getting the outcome you want. And people used to say to me, oh my God, Lola, like, you nailed it. Like, seriously, there is no way we are not going to get extra budget for this. Because the way in which you presented that, it was a win-win. It wasn't even an argument to be had. I said, and that's how you approach it. Then it doesn't become difficult. But you also have to have the belief in yourself that what you're asking for, it is within the realms of possibility. Sometimes we talk ourselves out of having a difficult conversation because they're never going to agree to it. It's never going to happen. Yeah, we haven't asked. But how do you know it's never going to happen? You need to ask the question. So it's really important, I would say, first and foremost, is get clarity about what you want the outcome to be. Build your business case. Practice and prepare for this difficult conversation. Understand what you're willing to compromise on and how it's going to impact you. And also understand what your non-negotiables are. And know when it's time to walk away. There are people that, oh no, I've been at this company for this amount of time. I've been here for like the last 10 years. Mistake number one. And it's like, okay, so, but you can move, right? It's not your daddy's company. I don't see your name above this door. So you can move. And even if it is your daddy's company, you can still move. If it's not serving you, leave. Simple.
I love that. And it kind of it took me back a couple of years. I early in my career, I got promoted earlier. I wasn't ready for the promotion. I was was literally fresh, and I hired two fresh graduates. And one of them, he was the fun of the party. You know
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
someone who like everyone likes and the character and all of that. And the girl was the nerd, kind of focused and all of that. And at the end of the year, I promoted the girl because she was just amazing and she was doing the work. And I had one of the toughest conversation with that the other person, because he was doing good and he was working hard as well, but it was in terms of impact, she was the one who was delivering impact, but I wasn't ready to showcase why. I was the manager, I took the decision, I talked to the general manager, I got it approved, and that's it. But when he sat in front of me and he asked me why, I couldn't have a concrete answer. And from that day, I
Mm,
learned two things. I learned that with my team, I have a sheet that I write down what they did.
yeah.
So whether, and not in terms of counting the bad stuff, but the good stuff that they
Mm,
did. So I have my case, but I also learn it for myself because I wasn't good at showcasing the stuff that I do. So I started doing it for myself. So every time I do something, I would write it down, and then I would,
yes.
I think at a certain stage, I got to the stage where I started writing how many weekly meeting I'm actually having, not to just to showcase that I am actually having a cross collaboration with different departments, different
Hmm.
dealership, and like I am really doing way more than I'm supposed to do. And when I go for my annual reviews, mid reviews, or my promotion, my manager cannot argue with me. Like they
Yeah,
cannot tell me you're not doing the job. You're not.
yeah.
So I think this is something that a lot of people don't do, is the preparation for that
And
conversation.
that's
It's
very,
very
very key.
important to have
It's
that
very key.
case carried with you.
Yeah. And another thing I would add to that is I what I did and what I say to my coaching clients is factor in your successes or top up your success bank when there's something to add to it, to every single engagement with your manager. When you just wait until the mid-year review or the end-year review, I can guarantee you the only ultimate goal you have then is to submit it on time. That's it. It's not about, oh, you want to write down all your successes, you want to be strategic with it. It's the deadline is, I don't know, the 24th of March. I need to submit. And that's it. It's frantic. But if you built it up over the course of the year and you add to it continuously, then what you start doing is you literally open up your notebook or open up your document, you scan through it, and you just summarize. And not just what you've done, but also that more importantly, is the impact that it had. So, to your point, Roseanne, when you were saying about all the meetings that you had, my thing is okay, but Roseanne, did you also mention the impact that it had? That because of these meetings, our collaborative project programs with this department and that department, they accelerated because I'd already engaged all the stakeholders, they were already on board, and that's how we were able to deliver on time. So it's very important to remember that it's not just a list of I did this, I did that, but where's the value add and what impact did it generate? Once you've got that and you're collating it on a regular basis. Also, you read it on a regular basis because it helps fuel your self confidence. When it comes time for mid year and end of year review, you just do a snapshot, summarize it, bam. If you need to go into the detail, then you can add on your your War and Peace document of your success bank as an as an attachment. But it's easier to do when I would say celebrate your successes as you go along. Don't wait until it's the 30th of June and you have to, submit your mid-year review, or the 20th of December, you have to submit your end of year review. Let it be something that is continuous. And then you yourself will see your growth as well because you're achieving more as the time passes.
I love that. And I love the notion of not having it as one event, but rather part of what you do on a constant basis.
Yeah.
Um, and the fact that if you want to accelerate your journey, or you want to get that promotion or get that new position, you have to strategically think about it and ahead of time. You
Yes.
can't wait until the job is announced and now you want to
No, that
apply
never
and you want
works.
to go to people to get them to recommend you.
Everyone by
You
that time,
need to
everyone's
make
in the
sure
same
that
boat.
that job never advertised.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
you
One
need to
one
make sure that
thing,
everyone think, oh, this job is for you.
and another thing I will say just quickly on that, because you mentioned like jobs and promotions, is something that we don't do, but I would heartily recommend it. If you're in a role within an organization and you know genuinely you like the organization, but you need a different type of role, then write down your ideal job description and then write down your business case as to why that role would serve your organization and present it to someone who can make that decision. Don't forget the remuneration part as well. Okay. So factor everything in, do a full on job description, but then also you have to do the business case as to why your organization would benefit from having that role. Ideally, the role and your CV should match, and then you present it. So the role never goes to market. If it does, it's just to make it's just for compliance reasons. We have to show to advertise for a role, but the role's already yours, and it's yours because you created it. So don't wait for a role to be advertised. If
I
there's a
love
role that
that.
you feel that you can create that will add value to your organization, create the role and submit it to someone who can make the decision.
I love that because I think a lot of us sometimes get stuck of saying, oh, there's no space for me to grow in this company. There's only my manager. I can move. There's nothing more I can learn. And there's nothing more I can add to the table. And this is a real flipping the script and coming up with my own role. This is a real,
Yeah, come up with your own role.
oh my, this is dope. This is dope. I love that. Laula, as expected, this was a thriller. I really enjoyed this conversation. It's
Okay.
amazing. Um, exactly as expected. Way better than I am
Oh,
gonna enjoy rewatching it and clips all those tweet moments. I want to close with a question about what do you think the one career truth that every woman should know,
oh, that's a good
and
one.
it's going to make a huge impact in the way that they work, they advance, they grow, whatever. The
Okay.
one truth.
Um, I would say the one truth would be, and I may be greedy and get and give you two. But I would say the first one is this: is you have a choice. You can either be in the driver's seat of your career, or you can be in the passenger seat of your career. But the choice is ultimately yours, and it's for you to make that choice. Because when you're in the passenger seat, you are constantly waiting for recognition. You're constantly waiting for permission. Okay. But when you're in the driver's seat, you are recognizing yourself and you're not asking for permission. You're dictating where you want to go and you're driving your career to where you want it to be. So I'll say that's one truth, because sometimes we get into a position where, like you just said, someone said, "Oh, there's no roles here for me. I can't grow. I can't do this." That's because you're choosing to stay still and you're choosing to be stagnant. Okay, the choice is yours. So you can either allow someone else to drive your career, or you can drive it yourself. But the truth is, you do have a choice, and stop thinking you don't have a choice. The other thing I would say is you are your biggest asset. And we discussed this. You are your biggest asset. And once you understand that, you're more willing to change your mindset and start investing in yourself. So as you're driving your career, you get to the destination that you have identified for yourself. Because it's very easy to be a career nomad. And what I mean by that is people will say, oh, Roseanne is good at this, put her in this department. Meanwhile, Roseanne doesn't want to do this, but she's just been put in this new role because she's good at it. Yeah. It's a strength, but it's not where your values align. And that's because Roseanne has decided to be a passenger in her career, not in the driver's seat. When you're in the driver's seat, you're saying, actually, this is where I want to go, and this is why we'll add more value. You place yourself there. So those are the truths. I would say you're not a passenger in your career. You are able to be the driver, and you should take that position, own it, and accelerate it. Also, that you are your biggest assets, and as with any asset, you do need to invest in it to really reap the returns on it. So let's start investing in ourselves.
More tweet moments. I just love this. And I love how, like, it's just you, like, I'm speechless. I just love this. Thank you so much for being here. We have, like, really, Mason is saying, thank you so much for sharing experience. We have someone else saying, Lola is sharing more amazing insights. You're sharing. More people should be listening to this. I'm actually now thinking that I'm going to reshare this in my personal page and I'm going to broadcast it into my, because, oh my goodness, this was amazing. Like, I personally really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for being,
No, thank you for
for
having me,
joining
Rosanna.
me today.
I really appreciate
And
it. Thank
if you
you.
want to close with anything you want to say.
Obviously, I'm a career coach, so I do have 3 spots available for my 6 month program. I also do cohort coaching within organizations as well, and I do first level leadership coaching. So if you are a first time leader and you've been promoted and you're like, I don't know how to manage a team, I'm not quite sure what type of leader I want to be, let's connect and let's talk.
Love that. Love that. I think anyone who would have you as a coach will be super lucky, because I think there's a lot comes with us taking new responsibility and making the right decision, and having the right person on your back will make a huge difference in your career. So if you're listening to this, you know where to find Lola. I'll share her LinkedIn profile again. Thank you so much for being with us today. It was amazing, and we're definitely going to do another one for sure.
I look forward to it. Thank you for having me, Mazan.
I look forward to it.